Let's get right into it. The modern supermarket is one of the greatest and most terrifying inventions in human history. It's a place where you can buy mangoes in the dead of winter, choose between 47 different kinds of mustard, and stand paralyzed in the cereal aisle, questioning every decision you've ever made. But the grocery store isn't just a convenient food depot. It's a meticulously crafted psychological battlefield. And you, my friend, are the target. Every single element, from the floor tiles to the music you barely notice, is designed with one purpose: to separate you from your money by overriding your logical brain. You walk in with a list, a budget, and a will of steel, and you walk out with a cart full of artisanal beet chips, a pineapple you don't know how to cut, and a vague sense of shame. Today, we're pulling back the curtain on the invisible architecture of persuasion. This isn't about coupons or sales. This is about the deep, weird, and sometimes unsettling psychological traps that are hidden in every single supermarket aisle. Ever walk into a grocery store for one thing? Just one thing, you swear. And the moment you step through those automatic doors, your brain just resets? The carefully constructed mental list you had vanishes, replaced by a sudden, overwhelming urge to inspect avocados. This is not an accident. This is a carefully engineered psychological speed bump known as the compression zone. Retail anthropologists, which is a real job, and frankly a cool one, discovered that when people enter a new space, they need a moment to transition. You're moving from the chaos of the parking lot, adjusting your speed, your senses, your entire mindset. If a store puts its most important products or signs right inside the door, customers will walk right past them in a daze. They literally won't see them. So what do? They create an ambush. The first thing you encounter isn't the essentials, it's a sensory assault. You're hit with the vibrant, almost unnaturally bright colors of fresh produce under specialized lighting. You're hit with the smell of fresh flowers, or more powerfully, the smell of baking bread or roasting chickens from a nearby deli. These smells aren't just pleasant, they're biological cheat codes. The scent of cooking food triggers saliva production and makes you feel hungry, and a hungry shopper is an impulsive shopper. The flowers and produce create a powerful impression of freshness and health, which gives the entire store a halo effect, making you feel better about the processed junk you're about to buy later. This zone forces you to slow down, take a deep breath, and forget the mission. Your brain shifts from "I'm here for milk" mode to "Ooh, what's all this?" mode. And just like that, before you've even grabbed a cart, your plan is already starting to crumble. Okay, you've survived the sensory onslaught at the entrance. You've successfully navigated past the suspiciously perfect-looking tomatoes. Now you grab your chariot, the shopping cart, and you've just fallen into the second trap. You probably think a shopping cart is just a metal basket on wheels. It's not. It's a finely tuned instrument of psychological manipulation. First, let's talk about the size. The original shopping cart, invented in 1937 by a man named Sylvan Goldman, was a modest affair. In fact, people were initially resistant to using them at all. Men found them effeminate, and women felt they were pushing a baby carriage. Goldman had to hire models to walk around his store pushing the carts to make them seem desirable. But since then, the size of the average shopping cart has more than doubled. Why? Because of a simple psychological principle. You feel an innate urge to fill what is empty. A larger cart makes your intended purchase of a few items look sad and lonely. That empty space creates a void, a subconscious goal to be completed. Your brain looks at a half-empty jumbo cart and thinks, "I'm failing at this. I need more." But it gets weirder. Most stores are designed to be navigated in a counterclockwise direction. This isn't an arbitrary choice. Roughly 90% of the world is right-handed. When you push a cart, you typically use your non-dominant hand, your left, to steer. This leaves your dominant, more dexterous right hand free to do the important work: grabbing stuff off the shelves. By routing you counterclockwise, the store ensures that the majority of products are on your right side, making it easier and more instinctual to reach out and add them to your cart. You think you're just following the natural flow of the store, but you're actually on a path of least resistance designed to lead directly to their profit. The cart isn't just carrying your food, it's steering your brain. Let's talk about the hero's journey. It's a classic narrative structure. A hero is called to adventure, faces trials, and returns with a treasure. Now think about your last trip to the grocery store. The hero is you. The call to adventure is realizing you're out of eggs. And the treasure, a simple carton of milk or a dozen eggs, is located in the absolute farthest, most remote corner of the kingdom. This isn't because of bad design, it's because of a brutally effective strategy. This is the oldest trick in the book. Putting the staple items, the milk, eggs, bread, and meat that make up the bulk of most people's shopping lists, as far away from the entrance and from each other as physically possible. It's a principle called maximizing path exposure. The store owners know you're going to buy milk. That's a given. Their goal isn't to sell you the milk, it's to sell you everything else on the way to the milk. By forcing you to trek through the entire store, they expose you to the maximum number of products, signs, and temptations. The journey to the dairy case is a carefully constructed gauntlet of impulse buys. You have to walk past the brightly colored seasonal aisle, the enticing end cap display of chips that are suddenly on sale, the soda aisle, the cookie aisle, and the new brand of organic, gluten-free, sadness-infused crackers they're promoting this week. Each aisle you pass is another chance for something to catch your eye. It's a numbers game. The more products you see, the more products you will buy. Studies have shown a direct correlation between time spent in a store and the amount of money spent. Their goal is to increase your time in the store, and a long walk is the easiest way to do it. There's no single villain who invented this. It was a slow, deliberate process of retail evolution. The stores that put the milk conveniently at the front simply didn't sell as much other stuff. They were outcompeted by the stores that understood that your need for a basic essential was their greatest leverage. So when you find yourself on that long march to the back wall, just remember, you're not just a shopper. You're an adventurer on a quest, and the store is the dragon guarding its hoard, hoping you get distracted by the shiny gold coins, or in this case, a bag of cheese puffs along the way. In the 1950s, an Austrian architect named Victor Gruen looked at the sprawling, car-dependent suburbs of America with a sense of horror. He saw them as soulless and isolating. Having fled the Nazis in his home country, he dreamed of bringing the communal, pedestrian-friendly public squares of Vienna to his new home. He wanted to create a space that would be a community hub, a place where people could shop, yes, but also gather, socialize, and escape the elements. In 1956, he opened the Southdale Center in Minnesota, America's very first fully enclosed shopping mall. It was his masterpiece, a controlled, comfortable environment designed to bring people together. And in the process, he accidentally invented one of the most powerful tools of psychological manipulation in modern history. His design was so effective at creating a self-contained, mesmerizing world with its constant temperature, artificial lighting, lack of clocks, and slightly confusing layouts, that something strange happened. People would enter the mall with a specific purpose in mind, and minutes later they would completely forget what it was. They'd lose track of time, their sense of direction, and their original mission, and just begin to wander aimlessly, soaking in the environment and, of course, shopping. This phenomenon became known as the Gruen Transfer. It's that precise moment when your rational, mission-oriented brain switches off and your suggestible, impulsive brain takes over. Supermarkets are masters of the Gruen Transfer. The layout is often intentionally inefficient. The aisles aren't always in a perfect, logical grid. The end caps disrupt your line of sight. There are no windows to the outside world and rarely any clocks, severing your connection to the passage of time. You become so engrossed in navigating the immediate environment that you forget you only came in for bread. Once you're in that slightly disoriented, Gruen-it-out state, you are far more susceptible to impulse buys. You're no longer executing a plan, you're simply reacting to stimuli. A bright package here, a special offer there. The ultimate crushing irony. Victor Gruen grew to absolutely despise what his creation had become. He saw modern malls as raging shopping machines and enormous consumer traps that had bastardized his utopian vision. The man who tried to build a community accidentally perfected the architecture of commercial capture, and you walk right into his beautiful, terrible trap every time you can't find the baking soda. The shelves in a supermarket are not a democracy. They are some of the most valuable and fiercely contested pieces of real estate on the entire planet. A single box of crackers is the result of complex negotiations, billion-dollar deals, and a deep understanding of human laziness. This is the world of planogramming, and its golden rule is simple. Eye level is buy level. Think about it. When you scan a shelf, where does your gaze naturally fall? Straight ahead. We are fundamentally lazy creatures. We buy what is easiest to see and easiest to reach. That prime territory from your eyes down to your chest is known as the bullseye zone, and brands will pay astronomical amounts of money for their product to live there. These payments are called slotting fees, and they can run into the tens of thousands of dollars per item for a national chain. The biggest brands with the highest profit margins buy up this space, ensuring their product is the default choice. The shelf itself is a carefully constructed class system. The bullseye zone is for the popular kids, the national bestsellers. The very top shelf, which requires a bit of effort to reach, is often for smaller, niche, or gourmet brands. And the bottom shelf? That's the bargain basement. It's where you'll find the generic store brands and bulk items. They know you'll bend over to save a dollar, but they're betting that most people won't bother. But the real stroke of evil genius is how this changes in certain aisles. Go to the cereal aisle. The sugary, cartoon character-covered boxes aren't at your eye level. They're about 3 feet off the ground. Why? Because that's the eye level of a child sitting in a shopping cart. The store and the brand are turning your own kid into an unwitting lobbyist. They create a direct line of sight between the cartoon tiger and your child's brain, knowing the ensuing pester power will do the selling for them. So when you're choosing between 2 identical cans of tomatoes, remember that your choice was likely curated and sold to the highest bidder months before you even walked in the door. You're not choosing a product, you're ratifying a business deal. Why does a sign that says limit 4 per customer on a can of tomato soup suddenly make you want to buy 4 cans of soup, even if you only needed 1? There is no soup shortage. The stockroom is likely overflowing with the stuff. Yet that simple phrase triggers a primal switch in your brain, and it's all thanks to the scarcity principle. Our brains evolved in a world where resources were genuinely scarce. If you found a bush full of berries, you ate as many as you could because they might not be there tomorrow. This ancient wiring equates scarcity with value. If something is limited, our brain concludes it must be good, and we'd better get our share before the rest of the tribe does. The limit sign is a manufactured cue that hijacks this survival instinct. It creates a false sense of urgency and popularity. It implies the soup is so amazing that people are clearing the shelves, and if you don't act now, you'll miss out. This taps directly into another powerful psychological driver: fear of missing out, or FOMO. This isn't just a theory, it's been proven. In a classic 1975 study, researchers gave participants cookies from a jar to rate. One group was shown a jar with 10 cookies, while the other was shown a jar with only 2. The cookies in both jars were identical, yet the participants consistently rated the cookies from the near-empty jar as more valuable, more desirable, and even tastier. The perceived scarcity changed their entire perception of the product. Supermarkets use this constantly. Special buy, limited edition, only while supplies last. These phrases aren't really about inventory management. They are psychological triggers designed to make you stop thinking and start grabbing. They are manufacturing a crisis out of thin air because they know that in a crisis, we don't make rational decisions. The limit on the sign has nothing to do with their stock. It's a command directed straight at your prehistoric panic button. Let's say you're buying a new coffee maker. You see 2 models on the shelf. One is a perfectly reasonable machine for $50. Next to it is a gleaming chrome behemoth that grinds beans with lasers and connects to your Wi-Fi. And it costs $400. You'd never buy the $400 one. That's absurd. But suddenly that $50 machine doesn't just seem reasonable, it seems like an incredible bargain. Congratulations, your brain has just been anchored. Anchoring is a cognitive bias where our brain latches onto the very first piece of information it receives, the anchor, and uses it as a reference point for all subsequent decisions. Whether it's logical or not, retailers are masters at deploying this against you, a strategy known as anchor pricing. They will intentionally place a ridiculously expensive item next to a merely expensive one, specifically to make the second item look like a smart purchase. The wine aisle is a classic example. You'll see a bottle of wine for $90 locked in a glass case. Its job isn't to be sold. Its job is to be an anchor. When you see that, the $25 bottle next to it no longer feels like a splurge. It feels like a savvy, mid-range choice. Without the $90 anchor, you might have just bought your usual $12 bottle. But now your entire perception of value has been warped by a number you never intended to engage with. This works with everything from prepackaged deli cheese to electronics. The initial price a store shows you, even if it's a crossed-out original mon price that was never real to begin with, sets the context. It frames your decision-making. They create a context of absurdity to make the merely expensive feel like a steal. They know your sense of value isn't objective. It's a flimsy, suggestible thing that can be easily manipulated by planting the most outrageous number they can in your head first. A supermarket isn't just a store, it's a theater, and you are the audience. Every single element of the set, the lighting you see, the music you hear, the smells you breathe is part of a meticulously produced show designed to make you feel comfortable, happy, and above all, compliant. This is the world of sensory marketing or atmospherics, and its goal is to bypass your rational brain and appeal directly to your emotions. Let's start with sound. Have you ever noticed the music in a grocery store? It's almost always there, but it's never memorable. It's never loud, aggressive, or fast-paced. Research has consistently shown that stores playing slower tempo music see higher sales. Why? Because you subconsciously match your walking pace to the rhythm of the music. Slower music means you move more slowly, you linger in the aisles longer, and the more time you spend in the store, the more money you inevitably spend. They are literally slowing down time to open your wallet. Then there's the lighting. The whole store is bathed in bright, clean, even light to create a sense of safety and sanitation. But get closer. The lighting directly over the produce section often has a slightly different hue to make the greens look greener and the reds look redder. The meat counter is often lit with a reddish tint to make the cuts look fresher and more appealing. It's a subtle theatrical trick to make the products look better than they actually are. Don't forget the misters that periodically spray the leafy greens. You think it's to keep them hydrated? It's mostly for show. It does very little for the vegetable's longevity, but it creates a powerful psychological illusion of dew-kissed, farm-fresh goodness. It's pure theater. And of course, the smells. We talked about the ambush at the entrance, but it continues throughout. That smell of baking bread you're picking up in the pasta aisle, it's probably not coming from an actual oven. Many stores now use scent diffusers, basically industrial-strength air fresheners, to pump artificial food smells through the ventilation system to keep your appetite stimulated no matter where you are. You're shopping for laundry detergent, but your brain is thinking about dinner rolls. They're not just selling you products, they're selling you a mood, and that mood has been focus grouped to perfection to make you spend. It's Saturday afternoon. You're navigating the aisles trying to stick to your list when you see it. A smiling employee in a hairnet standing behind a small portable table, holding out a tray. On that tray are tiny paper cups, each containing a single perfect cube of pepper jack cheese on a toothpick. It's a free sample. You're not even particularly hungry, but it's free. It would be rude not to. You take one, you eat it, you nod and say, that's good. And now, you're trapped. That little cube of cheese was not a gift, it was a weapon, and it was deployed to trigger one of the most powerful forces in human social psychology, the reciprocity principle. Humans are deeply, fundamentally wired with a need to repay debts and favors. When someone does something for us, we feel a strong, subconscious obligation to do something for them in return. It's the glue that holds societies together, and in the supermarket, it's the grease that moves products off the shelves. By accepting that free sample, you've incurred a tiny social debt. The employee smiled at you. They gave you something for nothing. Now, the thought of just walking away feels awkward. It feels a little like stealing. You feel a flicker of social pressure to reciprocate their kindness, and the easiest way to do that is to buy the product. Even if you don't buy it, you've still been stopped in your tracks. You've been forced to engage with a product you would have otherwise ignored. The sample has broken your shopping trance, and put the cheese front and center in your mind. It also brilliantly overcomes consumer hesitation. You might be unwilling to risk $8 on a new brand of artisanal salami, but a free taste removes that risk entirely. Once you've tried it and confirmed that it is, in fact, delicious, the barrier to purchase has been vaporized. So remember, the most expensive word in the supermarket isn't organic or gourmet, it's free. That sample is a Trojan horse, a tiny, delicious piece of social debt designed to make you feel just guilty enough to buy a product you never knew you wanted. You've done it. You've navigated the maze, resisted the siren song of the snack aisle, and your cart is reasonably close to what was on your list. The end is in sight, the checkout lane. You pull into line behind someone who has decided now is the perfect time to write a personal check, and you begin to wait. And it's in that moment of bored stillness that you realize the battle isn't over. In fact, you are now trapped in the most brilliantly devious part of the entire store. Welcome to the checkout aisle, the undisputed king of the impulse buy. The placement of these items is no accident. The store's designers are banking on a very real psychological phenomenon: decision fatigue. Think about the last hour. You've made hundreds of tiny, continuous decisions. Paper or plastic bags? Brand A or brand B of yogurt? Which avocado is perfectly ripe? Is this a good week to try kale? Your brain's capacity for rational, well-regulated thought is a finite resource, like muscle strength. And by the time you hit the checkout, you've done the mental equivalent of running a marathon. Your willpower is shot. And what does the store do when your defenses are at their absolute lowest? It surrounds you with a perfect storm of temptation. Not major purchases, but small, cheap, easily justifiable treats. Candy bars, sodas, gossip magazines, batteries, lip balm. These are low-cost, high-margin items that your tired brain can easily say yes to. It's a small reward for surviving the ordeal of shopping. And once again, notice the placement. The candy is often at a child's eye level, giving them one last chance to launch a pester power campaign that your exhausted brain has no energy left to fight. The checkout aisle is the psychological equivalent of a predator stalking a tired animal. It's the store's last desperate chance to squeeze a few more dollars from your depleted willpower, one chocolate bar at a time. The final and most pervasive trap isn't one you can see or smell. It's the very numbers themselves. The price tag is the last story the store tells you, and it is almost always a carefully crafted work of fiction designed to trick your brain into thinking you're getting a deal. First, there's the classic trick of charm pricing. Why does virtually everything cost $4.99 instead of just $5.1? Because your brain reads from left to right, and the first digit it sees acts as an anchor. Even though you consciously know that $4.99 is essentially $5, your subconscious registers the punchline for first, making the price feel psychologically smaller and more reasonable. It's a tiny, almost pathetic trick, but it works, and it's used on billions of transactions a day. Then there are the 10 for 10 deals. This language strongly implies you need to buy 10 of the item to get the sale price. In most cases, you can just buy one for $1. But the framing is designed to encourage bulk buying, and many people will load up their cart to fulfill the deal they see advertised. But the most insidious pricing trick of all is a quiet, creeping phenomenon known as shrinkflation. This is the retail industry's magic trick. The price on your favorite bag of chips stays the same, so you don't notice anything is wrong. But the company has quietly reduced the weight of the bag from 10 ounces to 8.5 ounces. The price of your ice cream carton is the same, but it's no longer a half gallon, it's 1.5 quarts. The dimple on the bottom of the peanut butter jar gets a little deeper, the toilet paper roll gets a little narrower. They aren't raising the price. They are selling you less product for the same amount of money. It's a deceptive way to increase profit margins without alerting the consumer. It's the final trap, a silent subtraction happening right under your nose, making you feel like you're in control of your budget while they quietly shrink the value of every dollar you spend. And that's our list. Proof that a simple trip for groceries is actually a high-stakes psychological heist where you are both the victim and the getaway driver. If you want to keep feeding your algorithm with more of this delightful nonsense, you know the drill. That subscribe button isn't going to click itself.